Hello, come closer. I promise I won't bite yet. But some of you are wondering, why do I always feature Caucasian women in my videos? Well, quite simply, as soon as I popped out of my mom's putata, they were the first beings I noticed. And I haven't looked back ever since. But in today's video, I'll feature women from the Southeast Asian contingent because honestly, after what I experienced in Japan and meeting some rather extraordinary, good-looking women out there, I want to go back again. And who knows, I might find myself somebody really special. Yes, it's Kung Fu Hot Dog, the station that brings you romantic songs.
I wanna let you know what I was going through.
Today, ladies and gentlemen, I bring you not worm tongue, but coffee tongue. Because coffee is the best drink in the whole wide world, especially if you consume it like I do. And speaking of consuming, folks, I'm going to be consuming, and my phone is distracting me in the other room, but I'm not answering it, but I am going to be consumed by the utter cringe rage takes out there.
Peace here. Welcome to a show in a glass of its own.
Yes, Thames Television, the station with knockers. Excuse me, there's one now. Yes, can I help you?
Cum on your face. What cleanses you of wokeness?
So, ladies and gentlemen, this is Project Eve from South Korea, one of my favorite countries in the whole wide world. Have I been there? No. After seeing this gameplay and the footage and everything else, do I want to go there? You bet your ass I do, but there's another reason behind that later on. So this game is going to be a PlayStation 5 only title. Yes, let's hear the boos already. I know I can hear them from far, far away in Alaska. And let's just watch a snippet of this game trailer because you're probably wondering, why am I talking about this? Well, you could probably guess if you watch my channel.
뿐이지. 이브, 우리를 도와줘.
조심해! 리스팅되지 않는 네이티브야! 아담, 뒤로 물러나!
If you're paying close attention, 007, you'll see that Miss Eve has rather impressive jiggle physics. Yes, even as she shoots her guns, her other bomb-bombs go up and down.
절대적이야. 이 레거시는 믿을 수 없어요. 그렇죠? 그렇다고 말해줘요.
여기 있는 누구나 그 손길이 닿은 적은 없어. 모두 버려진 거야.
You clearly get the drift here, right? I mean, South Korea does not care how they portray females in their video games. In fact, I find it refreshingly old-fashioned to a degree because just like in movies now, we want to see good, entertaining movies like they used to be back in the good old days, the glory days of the 70s and especially the 80s. I think South Korea and the marginal proportion of Southeast Asia focus on video games in a certain way. Hell, even China is getting rid of microtransactions from certain video games or from all their homemade based video games. They want the single player experience all over again, which I actually couldn't agree with more. But of course now, if we visit Twitter X, there's more screenshots of the lovely Miss Eve, and of course I am following the developers. They're really pleased that 15,000 people are following their game and their company, and I think it's great. I think Project Eve was a better title, but Stellar Blade, you want something that evokes action and intrigue, so I think they've kind of got the nail right on the button there, or the nail on the head. Here's something that you probably should realize now. So with Western video gaming, well, what is there to say about it? Not much, and I will get to that point in a minute. it has deliberately, in the last, I would say since The Last of Us Part 2, that you've seen the degeneration of the female form in video games. I blame Neil Druckmann for this. He kind of spearheaded the whole campaign because he's so in love with Anita Sarkeesian. You know, that woman who looks like an adult actress until she opens her mouth. Then you kind of go off her.
Women living in the global south, women with disabilities, queer women, and trans women who bear the brunt of these ramifications. Choice feminism also obscures the fact that women don't have a real choice. That's a huge bitch. They have very narrow.
And Neil, remember he gave a keynote speech some years ago where he was stuttering and listening all over the place because he's just struggling so hard to get into Anita's pants. And he stood there saying, oh, and he's showing all these images, like you can't have these images of women in video games anymore. But then he highlights a particular book which in itself sounds disturbing. If you go and watch the video, you'll see what I'm talking about.
And as a game creator, I look around at kind of what we are making and what are going to be her role models from the stories. And I don't like what I see.
Today, Junior!
More specifically, I'm talking about our female characters. And whether we want to admit it or not, these are role models.
Yes!
And yet we sexualize, we objectify, we marginalize, and we reduce these female characters to a lot less than they can be. And this is coming from a guy that...
Last of Us Part 2. If you've never played it, I'd advise you never ever. I've played it once in its entire run through. And basically, if you don't know the story, in The Last of Us, the first one, which is an acclaimed title, you had Joel, you had Ellie, who, by the way, a lot of people at the time were saying that the character model of Ellie in the video game seemed to be loosely based on Ellen Page, which is hilarious when you consider how Miss Page finally turned out in the end. But those two characters, because Ellie's like the surrogate daughter for the loss of Joel's daughter Sarah in the first game, and it was such a fantastic experience. Then we get part 2, like 3 years later, where Joel, the based male Caucasian character, gets a club to his head from oversized Abby, her with a small head and the big wide shoulders, like a female Bane if you want. And the proportion of the game actually punishes you to play as her. And Abby Johnson is just the most uninteresting character I've ever come across. She's awful. They even throw in a naughty scene much later on, which feels forced, contrived, and they even dropped the C-bomb in it as well, which I thought was pretty hilarious. Now, I've talked about the defeminization of female game characters in Western video gaming. So basically what I mean by that is it's not the actress who voices the actual character, it's the model that the character is based off. So Hannah Hoekstra. So this was the original face model. I wouldn't say the body model for Aloy in Horizon Zero Dawn. The first game, never fully completed it, but I still have it, and it's a good game. I think the combat is a bit weak in places, but this is like the original version we've got here, and she looks amazing. Then we go to this monstrosity right here, where this user, Bellet Seri, says, what the hell did they do to Aloy's face? This isn't even close to Hannah Hoekstra's looks. It's true. It's a look, that's a night and that's a day difference. Like, what the hell? But you know, when Guerrilla Games were looking in search for the ideal female model for their game, the protagonist, they came up with a redhead. Nobody had any problem with that. Miss Hoekstra is obviously a redhead. And then, 3 years later, when the next game comes out, they give her this blown out face. And the argument was, well, she's gotten a little bit older. She's in a futuristic wasteland. She's just eating anything that she can find. Oh, okay, right. We're going to go along with that excuse now, are we? And now, of course, you've got that new Fable game coming out, which is absolutely hysterical. Cannot wait for the backfire against that one. And in fact, I've even noticed certain people who have bigger video game channels out there, in their opening titles, they'll show some Fable gameplay, but they'll obscure the image of the character's truly ugly face. So you can see where some people are actually believing what he said out there, but they don't want to acknowledge it. But of course, 2 years ago on the YouTube channel, Digital Foundry, founded by Richie Ledbetter here on the top left-hand corner, and his cohort presenters. You got Audi on the bottom hand right side, then you got John Lindemann right here, and the rather good-looking and dashing Alex Bertalia on the top right-hand corner. And he kind of goes against the whole geek look aspect of a video gamer. And, you know, I'll give this guy his due. He's mad on Crysis. He's a real addict on that game. He knows he's shading and he's ray tracing. The guy can talk for hours about that. It's a rather fascinating thing. However, a comment he made here about the reaction to Project Eve as it was then and the game trailer did kind of spiral out of control, and is actually one of Digital Foundry's most disliked videos because of the comments he made here.
So the one thing, I know you were talking about the character from a bygone era. I do think the character model was actually like very distracting in not a good way, because like with the camera angles chosen, it just felt like this game seems like a game that came out in like 2002 in terms of its, you know, like character design.
It's funny that he talks about the distracting camera angles for Project Eve, and they've deliberately edited the inside boob of the character to make that point. I'm like, hey, you know what? That's pretty based.
Like a bit old and not flattering, I don't think, for a modern audience. In comparison to something like Forspoken, which has, you know, I mean, yes, it has a much more realistic looking character designs. It's not these hyper proportioned something or another's, but it also seemed, I don't know, a bit more grounded in a way that I found much more appealing than what we saw here.
From a general standpoint, I do agree with you, but I do think Project Eve, when it comes to facial construction, it does have some merit though, because the characters look very different. It's just that once you go, you know, neck down, there's a lot of issues on display.
That's the problem. Yeah, that's the problem.
Oh dear. Okay, well look, Alex, you were talking about
I don't think Richie Ledbetter actually fully agrees with that comment. It's like, okay, can we just move on, gentlemen? And you know, it's kind of funny because Mr. Battaglia talks about Forspoken, which is modeled on the actress Ella Belinska, who I love to rip to pieces. And with that character model, it actually looks like Miss Belinska. She's attractive like the actress herself, except the character's covered up and has no merits to her whatsoever. The game is terrible. I don't even have to buy a copy of the game to play it. You can just watch people reacting to how terrible that overpriced PlayStation exclusive game was. So Alex Battaglia has the gall and the bladder, I suppose, to talk about these things. But I want to leave you with one last thing, actually, which was the actual actress herself. If you want to see, so the actress, I mean, she's a model, Shin Jae-eun. This is her being body scanned for the model of Eve. Have a look at this. It's pretty awesome. Well, I don't know about you, but it makes me want to go to South Korea right now. So on that one, ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoy this video today, and if you want to see more like this, and the way I light myself up because I'm a big ray of sunshine, make sure you leave a like below, smash that subscribe button, and if like me, like you want to come back for more, then check me out, checking you out on the next video.
Some merit though, because the characters look very different. It's just that once you go, you know, neck down, there's a lot of issues on display.
That's the problem. Yeah, that's the problem.
Oh dear. Okay. Well,
serious?